Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Trey, and I want to talk about MCU Phase 3 and why it's the crux of the Eternals. And I know what you guys are talking about. You're like, what do you mean? Because let's be honest, the Eternals was a movie that should have been that should have set up things that worked towards the Eternals themselves, but they never set anything up for this new phase of Marvel that everybody want to be like, oh yeah, this is amazing or whatever. But no, Phase 4 has a big issue. Like, it just makes no sense of how much they didn't have any plans. So if you guys know, you know that I saw seeing the cracks in Phase 2, I believe. Yeah, Phase 2. And if you guys know, Phase 2 is probably where we saw some of the cracks that were happening in a lot of things as well. So if you guys know Phase 2 features Iron Man 3, Thor: The Dark World, Captain America: Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers: Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man. And that is where we start seeing the cracks right there. Avengers: Age of Ultron is where we start seeing a few of the cracks, and Iron Man 3, of course. But, you know, we can excuse that until we get down to Phase 3, of course. Now, you guys know about Phase 3. Phase 3 had a whole lot of movies. Captain America: Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Thor: Ragnarok, Black Panther, Avengers: Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, Avengers: Endgame, and Spider-Man: Far From Home. So now we have all those movies right there. It's doubled more than the Phase 2, which I still believe that Phase 2, you should have had that insured a setup. And you didn't have it insured for the setup, because if any of you guys know about the Marvel Cosmicmology, you know it's not as simple as you can just throw something out there. And people be like, well, what about Guardians of the Galaxy? Well, Guardians of the Galaxy was pretty fun, but it didn't set the Marvel Cosmicmology up. People have to understand Thanos is a deviant. This deviant character comes from the whole entire Eternals, deviant, celestial, inhuman kind of thing going on as well. So when you don't even do that right, you know you messed up, because now the Eternals at the end of the movie introduce Star Fox, Thanos' brother, right? And then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 introduce Adam Warlock, two characters that have a major presence with Thanos, including the original Captain Marvel, which you never did, and you gender bent her. You took him and made it a her for agenda-driven reasons. That made no damn logical sense. That's where you should have started setting up your cosmetology universe of Marvel. If you're going to do something like the Eternals, you had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which was a waste of time. What the fuck? That was such a waste of a movie. So you have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Captain Marvel. So you got 3 movies that are on the grand scale of cosmetology thing that you need to actually do. And I guess you can do Thor you can do Thor as well, but let's be honest, Dark World was not great. I don't know what the hell y'all was trying to do with Thor: Dark World. And Ragnarok was sort of on the track, but not really. But another thing is, Marvel, you guys got like a sequel problem, to be honest. Your first movie is pretty good, and then your second or third movie is kind of like, especially the fact that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 brought nothing to the table. And I mean, brought absolutely nothing to the table. Makes absolutely no sense. Like, there was nothing that really happened in Guardians of the Galaxy, the second movie. The first movie, yeah, we got a stone. That's great. Cool. But the second movie didn't set anything up. The second movie should have definitely had a storyline including Adam Warlock and Captain Marvel. You bring those two characters in, and then you spin Captain Marvel off into his solo movie, and then you bring in Star Fox. Star Fox was an original member. Was a member of the Avengers in the first place. So he probably ran into the Guardians of the Galaxy. He probably running away from his brother after he's been trying to find out his locations and track him and figure out what he's trying to do. You know what I'm saying? While he runs into his niece, Gamora, and I guess Nebula, depending on how you want to do it or whatever. So that's how you have to do that kind of stuff, because with the cosmetology of Marvel, it's so expansive that you just can't have it. What you should have also did is within the phase 2 and phase 3 of the Marvel cinematic movies is you also should have had Thanos attacking certain characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that hasn't been introduced yet, but you can do like Easter eggs for it or whatever, stuff like that. That's how you kind of have to do it. You should have had Thanos coming after certain characters in the Marvel's cosmetology, which means the Eternals as well, and had him kill some of them off prior to getting the gauntlet. And this message will go back to Athena and Icarus. Those will be the only two Eternals that you have to introduce in the Avengers movie, which means that Civil War can't happen. You know, Civil War can't happen. The Captain America third movie needs to be a setup for something, but it ain't Civil War. Civil War is a hell no right now. I understand it's a ramification of the Age of Ultron thing, but it's not enough damn heroes and not enough, because if you're going to do that, you would have to bring in the TV show characters, and you're not willing to do that. So I just wouldn't have even done Civil War until you had set that up, because again, with Civil War, that's still a setup that needs to happen, and you're just using one incident from that one moment to be like, oh yeah, there should be Sokovian records to have these people say to register. Yeah, and sadly it wasn't enough heroes for that, and that was the crux of that movie. That movie was definitely damn rushed, and it was supposed to be a Captain America movie. You only did it because you wanted Captain America and Iron Man to fight each other. And I understand you got to condense certain things, but again, certain stories need setup and time. You just can't just jump into it, you know? So I understand they wanted to divide the Avengers so they can come back when they fought Thanos or whatever, but it's kind of weird that you divided the Avengers when the Avengers were together when they faced off against Thanos. You know what I'm saying? But I get it. You wanted to cause a rift, so I guess I could have Civil War, but Civil War should be an event prior to, should be before, it could be a lead up to Infinity War and Endgame. That's how I feel if you're going to do a Civil War, but it needs to be a Civil War with many characters and not just a few characters, because it doesn't mean anything if these characters don't have if there's not much of a side, because it's just like, okay, these characters, sure, they all have their little arguments, but you're not talking about other heroes that are involved, because we do know that there are other heroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at the time, so you should have did that. But getting off topic again, because I'm sorry I'm being random, but we're talking about cosmetology of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and you guys want to bring in 10 characters plus 2 other heroes that are supposed to be also introduced in Eternals. But baby, it can't happen. It can't happen because again, a lot of these characters are tied together, and for you to ignore those ties makes absolutely no damn sense. How are you going to do the Eternals and not have any of that stuff tied to the reason why Thanos look how he looks, and then how he has a brother that looks normal, who looks like one of the Eternals? You get what I'm saying? You didn't bring any of that. You didn't bring any of that kind of stuff. And that's what I'm saying. Captain Marvel and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and maybe a Thor movie should have been setting up the cosmetology of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So when Thanos did snap a lot of people out of existence or whatever, it could have took so many characters, so that way the Eternals could have been making their way towards Thanos after Civil War is over. Like after the Civil War is over, 2 of the Eternals come and be like, hey, we need your help, or whatever, you're the Avengers, right? And stuff like that. And then, of course, it'd be like not anymore. And then you can kind of cut the black or whatever. And that could also bring in Nova, because Nova is also tied with Thanos and with the Guardians of the Galaxy, because he is the lover of Gamora. No, not fucking Star-Lord. I don't know what the hell that shit is anyway, but it is what it is. But that's how you do that kind of stuff, which also you can make a Nova solo movie too. Because when you're dealing with cosmetology of the cosmetology of Marvel, you have to do a little bit of setup first. And the Avengers, not the Avengers, but the Eternals was not the right movie to set that stuff up and even talk about, oh, there's a world seed inside the planet and it had enough energy to grow, and now the Earth is in danger in 7 days. Bitch, we saw that plot. We saw the end of that plot for Transformers. Knights of something, whatever. The fifth Transformer movie before they rebooted it, I guess. We already saw that part where the Earth is secretly Unicron that's been formed around it. It's just kind of one of those, oh God, here we go nonsense. Even though I already knew that the Earth had a celestial seed in it, but it just feels not earned yet. You get what I'm saying? That's something that should be set up. That is definitely something that should have been set up. And don't give me that whole, oh, we were tasked not to be involved. No, because the original Eternals, they were tasked to save people, and then after a while, they gave up on humanity. Don't sit up there and try to make them holier than thou, because they weren't at first. So, they weren't. And they had to relearn it. There's a difference. That's change. Don't be like, oh, they wasn't there. Because then it's like, where were you? You get what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying the Eternals should have been out in space somewhere throughout this time. So that way, when that stuff did happen, Thanos is coming after them because they know secrets that he needs in order to get the Infinity Gauntlet. That ties in some of the cosmetology. That will bring in two of the Eternals to talk to the Avengers. Then you can tie that into a solo Captain Marvel movie, which also will introduce a little bit more information on Thanos, which sets that up even further, which also introduced Star Fox, Thanos' brother, who they do fight. And then it also introduced Adam Warlock, who is one of the main people who helped defeat Thanos, along with Nebula, Thanos' granddaughter. Yeah. Nebula was really Thanos' granddaughter. Go figure. And now what? What you doing? Come on. What you doing? But yeah. So that's what I'm saying. All of this is a little bit more complicated than it needs to. It is complicated. But the Eternals is so far right now Marvel's dud of a movie. And a lot of people are saying it's boring, it's pretentious, it's drained of life. And the Eternals are colorful. Please, people, go in right now while you're even watching or listening to this video, wherever you are. Type in Marvel The Eternals comics. See how colorful Jack Kirby made them. So it made no sense that these characters don't even look like themselves. Then you took it and you made it this political nonsense where you had to race swap and gender swap all of the characters almost. And of course, the leader is a woman. Why? Because Icarus was the leader, but okay, sure. Anything for diversity. And okay, all right. But you're trying to bring in the whole entire cosmetology of Marvel within a less than 2 hours, almost 3 hour movie. That's a lot. That's definitely a lot that you needed to set up, and you didn't set it up. And that's the crux of it all, is that you didn't set up nothing. You didn't set up none of it. And I really wish you did set it up, because then you could have had a better product and a better movie. Because right now, as I'm looking at it, the Eternals is hot shit. And you could have did something great with the Eternals. And don't get me wrong, I'm not even a fan of the Eternals. King Jack Kirby tried his best. Bless his heart. But I I just did not understand. Maybe I need to go back and read it now. But I saw the Eternals. How I knew about the Eternals was even before they announced it. Is I was aware of the Eternals in a few comic books when I noticed these characters start showing up in certain comic books, and I'm like, who the hell are they? And they were like, they are the Eternals. And I think I read a few of their comic books. I know I never read issue number 1, so I know I didn't know nothing. So when I was reading them, I was like, man, these characters are boring. But they'll show up in some of the Avengers and X-Men storylines, and I was always confused, like, who are these characters? And of course we know that the Eternals are basically rejected version of Jack Kirby's New Gods. So I don't know. Maybe I need to go back and reevaluate the Eternals, but I wasn't even a big fan. Most Marvel fans don't really care about it. That is literally bottom of the barrel Marvel too. That's another thing too. At least if you're gonna do something like that, why would you start with one of the most lesser known things that Jack Kirby's done, that even King Jack Kirby and Neil Gaiman couldn't freaking sell to people? So it's weird that this was a decision that you guys chose. Really, it really is. It really is a weird decision, for real. So I don't know. I'm just saying that the whole crux of everything is because of the failure to plan and the cracks that were starting to form in the MCU by phase 2, because I start seeing the cracks phase 2 wise. I know some people probably start seeing it in phase 3 to me. No, am I saying that the MCU phase 2 and phase 3 movies were terrible? No. A lot of them were enjoyable, and a few of them was just like, what the hell was that? And it's understandable. But if you're going to do something like this, you need to have setup. And that is probably the major problem with the Eternals, is there is no setup at all. Just like Black Widow, just like Shang-Chi, and now Eternals. These movies don't matter. There is no setup, really. Oh, well, this character show up later. And Shang-Chi, Black Widow didn't set up the Eternals. So what is the point? The Eternals didn't set up Shang-Chi or Black Widow. So again, what is the point? Nothing set up anything. Not even phase 3. Phase 3 didn't even leave you an inkling of what they were going to do for phase 4. So again, it matters not that you wanted to be like, oh, these movies are fine or whatever, and that's great, but there's no setup. So when you're bringing in new characters that people aren't familiar with, you have a fine amount of time to make people care about 10 damn characters. And that's just the Eternals. Not to mention whatever, the Celestials, the Deviants, and then you kind of scrub the Inhumans away from that shit. And then I heard there's like 2 other characters, like the Black Knight and somebody else. That's 12 characters. That's at this point 50 damn characters you're trying to introduce in one movie, less than 2 hours. Come on now. Come on. It makes no logical sense when it comes down to it. It really doesn't. At the end of the day, it was no planning, and because there was no planning, and because you wanted to do agenda and diversity more so than story, you got played. This is like as from Heel versus Babyface said that I like. You play stupid games, you get stupid rewards, and that's what it was. No matter what anybody said, that's exactly what it was. And then you're shocked and surprised that people are criticizing the movie, and then you got the MCU people talking about, people are just hating because it's diversity. No, we're not about to play that game. We're not about to play that game. This movie has way bigger issues than it's diverse. Diversity is a problem, definitely, for sure, but it ain't the real problem for the Eternals. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.